All right, Marvel Rivals fans. We're going to dive deep into healing today.
Yeah.
And specifically, can a healing-focused strategy really get you to the top ranks? You know, we've been seeing this question pop up everywhere.
Yeah, all over the forum.
Articles, people are talking about it. We've even heard some interesting stuff from the esports scene.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And, you know, you guys really wanted us to get to the bottom of this, so...
Yeah, break it down.
We dug deep. We got a mountain of intel here. And get this, there's a Grandmaster player out there who hit the top rank by doing 0 damage.
Wow.
Only healing.
That's amazing.
So is this some kind of fluke?
Or is there a secret here?
Yeah, or is there something more to this? I mean, Marvel Rivals has always had heroes with strong support abilities.
Right. What we're seeing now, it seems like something's different.
Yeah.
It's becoming more and more common to see teams stacking multiple healers.
Oh, really?
Almost mirroring that GOATS meta from Overwatch.
Oh, yeah.
Teams were practically unkillable.
Oh, man, those matches. Yeah, I remember those matches. It felt like you were just bashing your head against a wall.
Yeah, it's just wave after wave of heroes all being healed up.
I can definitely see how that would be. It's frustrating to play against. In Marvel Rivals, too.
Especially in Marvel Rivals.
Yeah.
Where you have those big damage combos that you're trying to set up.
Right.
And it just gets negated.
Yeah, you finally get that
You think you have a kill lined up.
Yeah, and then they just...
They're back at full health.
Oh, it's so frustrating.
Yeah, and there's a reason it's so potent. We're talking about heroes like Invisible Woman, whose healing output is so strong that she can effectively negate a DPS hero's entire attack.
Wow.
Combine that with someone like Jeff the Landshark,
Okay.
who can heal almost 150 health per second.
Yeah.
And you've got a team
Yeah.
that can just shrug off damage.
Wow, so... It's not just one healer.
Right.
It's the combined power
Right.
of multiple healers.
Whoa.
That makes this strategy so effective.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They create this layered defense. That's incredibly hard to break through.
And this isn't just some low-rank phenomenon either.
Right.
Remember that Grandmaster player we mentioned, Nolam
Oh, yeah, Nodum Jorak.
His win rate was 65%. That's unheard of at that level.
Especially at that level.
Yeah.
And he did it all without landing a single attack.
That's wild. So it's not just a theory. It's actually possible to climb to the top by just focusing on healing. But it can't be as simple as just picking a bunch of healers and letting them do their thing, right?
Right. You can't just hide in the back and expect to win.
Yeah.
Even No Dim G Rocket had to adapt his playstyle. As he climbed higher, he couldn't just sit back and spam heals.
Right.
He had to be strategic, use his utility, and play defensively to survive when he was targeted.
So even if you're going full support, you still need to be proactive and contribute in other ways besides just healing.
Absolutely. You have to play smart, understand positioning,
Yeah.
and know when to use your abilities defensively rather than just offensively.
So you're not just
It's about being a facilitator, not just a heal bot.
Okay, that makes sense. So we know healing can get you to the top. But what about pro teams? How are they using healers in tournaments?
Well, in the tournament scene, you almost never see a team with just one support hero. 2 is pretty much the standard. Okay. And sometimes you even see teams running 3.
Wow.
Luna Snow is a consistent pick.
Yeah.
Because of her high healing output and her ability to mark an ally for extra healing.
Yeah, she seems to be kind of the go-to healer right now.
Yeah.
But do teams build around her based on their strategy and what other types of support they need?
That's right. For example, if they need more burst healing, they might pair her with Adam Warlock.
Okay.
Or they need more crowd control. They might go with someone like Cloak and Dagger.
So it's a lot about what the rest of their team comp looks like?
Yeah, it all depends.
Uh-huh.
There's this really cool match recently where a team combined Loki and Adam Warlock's healing abilities to completely nullify Iron Man's ultimate.
Wow, they basically healed through an ultimate.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
That's incredible. All right, you've convinced me. Healing is definitely a force to be reckoned with in Marvel Rivals right now. But is there any way to counter it? Like, if I'm facing a team full of healers, am I just doomed?
Not at all. High-level players are always adapting and finding new ways to counter, emerging strategies.
So it's not just like...
Pick healers and you win.
Yeah, and then I just...
Have to think about this.
Give up. Yeah.
One common tactic is to focus fire on a single target to overwhelm their healing output.
Okay.
If everyone in your team attacks the same enemy, even the best healer can't keep up.
Yeah, it's like, trying to put out a fire
Right.
with a garden hose versus a fire truck.
Exactly.
If you can bring enough damage all at once.
Yeah, you gotta.
Yeah.
You gotta focus that damage.
Yeah.
And of course, you can always try to target the healers themselves.
Oh,
you have the support, and the rest of the team
Mm.
becomes much more vulnerable.
Yeah, if you can take out those healers.
Yeah.
That's like taking out the legs from under the table.
Exactly.
So dive heroes who are good at closing gaps and disrupting positioning would be valuable in those situations.
Absolutely. Someone like Spider-Man or Black Panther could quickly flank and get to those vulnerable healers.
Yeah, so you got to get in there before they can get set up
Yeah.
and really start pumping out those heals.
You got to disrupt that backline.
Yeah, it seems like. Understanding the strengths and weaknesses of each healer.
Yeah.
And knowing how to counter them is really key.
That's a big part of it. Another tactic is to use burst damage to outpace the healing.
Okay.
If you can deal a massive amount of damage quickly, you might be able to take down a target before their healers can react.
Okay, so hit them hard and fast, like a surgical strike.
Exactly.
Okay, but what if you don't have heroes who excel at burst damage?
Well, then you might consider picking heroes who specifically counter. Popular healers, for example. Some heroes have abilities that bypass shields or reduce healing effectiveness.
So there's always a way to adapt and overcome, even against a team that seems unkillable.
That's the beauty of Marvel Rivals. It's a game of constant adaptation and counter strategies.
Right, it's a concept.
You got to stay one step ahead.
Yeah, you always have to be thinking about what the other team's doing and how to counter that.
Absolutely.
Right, this high-level analysis is great. But I know our listeners want to know, how do I actually build a healing-focused team? What are the essentials?
Well, the first rule is never run just one healer.
Okay.
It's just too risky.
Yeah.
You need backup. You need synergy and the ability to adapt to different situations.
So 2 healers is the absolute minimum. Got it. What kind of healer pairings work well together?
Well, it depends on your playstyle. Let's say you like a more balanced approach.
Okay.
You could pair a sustained healer like Luna Snow with a utility healer like Rocket Raccoon.
Yep.
Luna provides consistent AoE healing, and Rocket revives armor packs and mobility.
That sounds like a good mix of healing, utility, and survivability.
Right. You've got a little bit of everything there.
Yeah. But what if I prefer a more aggressive style?
Then you might consider pairing a burst healer like Mantis
Okay.
with a high damage assassin like Elektra.
Interesting.
Mantis can keep Elektra alive during those risky dives,
Uh-huh.
and her damage boost can make Elektra even more deadly.
Ooh, that's scary. Okay, I'm starting to see how the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, there's so many different combinations you can try.
Yeah.
There's no one-size-fits-all answer. It's about finding what works for you
Yeah.
and your team.
Yeah, and experimenting and seeing if this works.
Exactly, trial and error.
Yeah.
But no matter what healer combo you choose, you need at least one strong BPS hero who can capitalize on all that survivability your healers provide.
Right, so the healers create the space.
Yeah, they create the space.
And the DPS deals the
They
damage.
take advantage of that space.
It's a symbiotic relationship.
Exactly.
And of course, you can't neglect your tank heroes. You still need a front line to protect those precious healers and control the flow of the fight.
Right, someone to soak up all that damage.
Yeah, we need someone
that damage.
to soak up damage and create space for the healers and DPS to do their thing.
A good tank like Captain America or Hulk can peel for your healers' control space and make it much harder for enemies to dive your back line.
So we're talking about a team with 2 healers, a strong DPS and a tank. Sounds pretty solid.
It is. But there's one more crucial thing to remember. Even as a support player, you can't just be a passive healing station. You need to contribute in other ways.
We've kind of touched on that before, it sounds like.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to being a support player than just healing.
Absolutely. A lot of support heroes have abilities that can deal damage control crowds or disrupt enemies.
Right.
For example, Invisible Woman can knock back enemies with her shield. Cloak and Dagger can switch to her damage-dealing form. And even Luna Snow has a stun.
So you're not just a healer, you're a playmaker.
Yeah.
A strategist. A multi-tool for your team.
That's right. A good support player knows when to heal and when to fight. They're proactive, adaptable, and always looking for ways to contribute beyond just keeping their team alive.
This is all fantastic information. We've covered a lot of ground already, from the rise of sustained strategies to specific healer pairings. But where do you think healing is headed in the future of Marvel Rivals?
That's a good question. Given the current state of the meta, it's safe to say that the developers are keeping a close eye on how healing is impacting the game.
So we might see some changes coming down the line.
Yeah, it's possible.
Maybe some nerfs to healing output, or even the introduction of anti-healing mechanics.
It's definitely a possibility. They might adjust the balance of certain heroes, or introduce new items that counter healing.
Right.
Or we might see the emergence of completely new counter strategies that change how we think about healing altogether.
Okay, so the future of healing in Marvel Rivals is still a bit of a mystery, but one thing's for sure. It's going to be exciting to watch how it all plays out.
Absolutely. The meta is constantly evolving, and players are always finding new ways to push the boundaries of what's possible.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive into healing in Marvel Rivals. We've gone from the basics of why healing is so effective to the intricacies of building a healing-focused team.
Right.
And we've even touched on the future of healing and what it might hold for the game.
We've laid the foundation, but there's still so much more to explore in the next part. We're going to delve into the philosophy of healing, the mental game of playing support, and some advanced strategies for maximizing your impact as a healer.
Okay, so we're going to really get inside the mind.
Yeah, we're going to go deep.
Of a support player.
It's going to be a deep dive into the mind of a support player.
I like it.
And I think you're really going to enjoy it.
I'm looking forward to it. All right, we're back for part 2 of our deep dive into healing in Marvel Rivals. We've broken down the why and the how of healing strategies. But now I'm curious about the mindset. Is there like a certain philosophy behind playing support?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of a perspective shift. In most games, the focus is on offense. You know, racking up kills, dealing damage, pushing aggressively.
Right, it's all about those flashy plays.
Yeah, exactly. But healing flips that script.
Okay.
It's about defense, resilience, understanding that staying alive is just as important, if not more so, than taking down enemies.
It's almost like a martial art. Meeting force with force isn't always the answer. Sometimes it's about redirecting that energy, creating space, wearing your opponent down.
That's a great analogy. Playing support is about recognizing that every point of health you restore, every second you buy for your team, is a victory in itself.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of satisfaction, one that comes from enabling your teammates to shine.
Yeah, I can see how that would appeal to a certain type of player.
Yeah.
It sounds like it takes a lot of patience discipline.
Definitely.
And even a bit of selflessness.
Absolutely. Not everyone is cut out for the support role.
Yeah, you got to be okay with not always being in the spotlight.
Exactly. You need to be comfortable being the unsung hero, the one working behind the scenes to keep everyone else going.
So what would you say are the key traits of a great support player? Besides the patience and selflessness, what else sets them apart?
Well, they have to have incredible awareness. You need to know where everyone is, what's happening on the map, and anticipate threats before they materialize.
Wow, so it's like they're playing 4D chess while everyone else is playing checkers.
Exactly.
That sounds intense.
It is.
And it also sounds like they need to be incredibly adaptable.
Yeah.
Switching between healing damage, even crowd control, depending on the situation.
Right. You have to be ready for anything.
That's a lot to juggle.
It is. And it requires a level of calmness under pressure that not everyone possesses.
Right. You can't
get flustered or panic when things get chaotic.
No, you gotta be the rock.
Right. You need to be the steady hand.
Yeah.
The one your team can rely on to keep them in the fight.
Okay, I'm starting to see the mental side of things more clearly. It's not just about knowing the abilities. It's about having the right temperament.
Yeah.
And the ability to read the flow of the match.
That's a huge part of it.
Okay.
But let's get practical again.
Okay.
What are some of those advanced strategies that healers can use to really elevate their game? Beyond just knowing when to heal and when to fight.
Yeah.
Are there specific things players can do to maximize their impact?
Yeah, what separates the good support players from the great ones?
Positioning is crucial. As a healer, you're a primary target for the enemy team. They know if they can take you out, it cripples their opponents.
Right, you're like the heart of the team.
Exactly. You have to be smart about where you stand, how you move, and when you engage.
Okay, so no more
standing out in the open, spamming heals.
Right. Gotta be a little more strategic. So you're saying they need to be more aware of their surroundings. Use cover effectively. Stay close to their tanks for protection.
Exactly. And it's not just about staying alive. It's about positioning yourself
in
a way that allows you to effectively support your team Sometimes that means taking risks to get into a better position, but you have to weigh those risks carefully.
It sounds like decision-making is a huge part of being a support player.
Yeah.
You constantly have to analyze the situation and choose the best course of action.
Right.
Even if it means putting yourself in a slightly more vulnerable position to better support your team.
It's all about the big picture.
Right.
And another key skill is understanding the strengths and weaknesses of your healing abilities. Every support hero has a different kit.
Yeah.
And you need to know how to use each ability effectively.
So it's not just about spam the heal button as fast as you can.
Right,
you have to know when to use your burst heal, when to use your AoE heal, and when to save your ultimate. For that clutch moment.
Exactly. It's about being strategic with your abilities, understanding their cooldowns, and coordinating with your team to maximize their impact.
So much more to it than just clicking the heal button.
Definitely.
And of course, communication is key. A good support player lets their team know when they're low on resources, when they need help, and who they're prioritizing healing.
Absolutely. Communication can make or break a match, especially when you're playing support.
Yeah.
You're often the one directing the flow of the fight, calling out targets, and making sure everyone is on the same page.
It's almost like you're the quarterback of the team, calling the plays, and making sure everyone knows their role.
That's a good way to put it. You're the conductor of the orchestra, making sure everyone is playing in harmony.
Wow. I never really thought about playing support like that before. It's so much more than just healing.
It is. It's a multifaceted role that requires a unique combination of skills, knowledge, and mental fortitude.
Yeah, it sounds like. Playing support successfully is a journey of self-discovery, as much as it is about mastering the mechanics of the game.
That's a great way to put it. You have to be willing to adapt, learn, and constantly push yourself to improve.
I feel like we've only scratched the surface of this topic. Is there anything else you think listeners should know about the mental game of playing support? Any advice for aspiring healers out there?
I think the most important thing is to remember that playing support is just as challenging and rewarding as playing any other role.
Yeah.
Don't let anyone tell you it's easy or less important. You're the backbone of your team, the one who enables them to achieve victory.
Yeah, it's about embracing a different kind of challenge, one that rewards patience, discipline, and a selfless dedication to your team.
Exactly. And sometimes, in a world obsessed with offense, the greatest victory comes from simply surviving.
That's a powerful message. It's a reminder that true strength lies, not in how much damage you can do, but in how much you can endure.
Right.
And in a game like Marvel Rivals, where the tides can turn so quickly, that resilience can be the difference between victory and defeat.
Well said. We've covered a lot of ground in this part of the deep dive. We've gone from the philosophy of healing to the mental game of playing support. And I think we've given listeners a lot to think about.
Absolutely. But the journey's not over yet. In the next part, we're going to put all this knowledge into practice.
Yeah.
We'll be breaking down specific healer matchups, discussing counter strategies, and even running through some gameplay examples.
It's going to be a crash course in advanced support tactics. And I can't wait to share what we've learned.
All right, heroes, welcome back for the final part of our deep dive into healing in Marvel Rivals.
Yeah, the moment we've all been waiting for.
We've talked philosophy, we've explored the mental game, but now I'm ready to see this all in action.
Let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, let's break it down.
We're about to break down some common healer matchups, dive into counter strategies, and even analyze some real gameplay examples.
I'm excited.
I think this will really bring it all together.
Yeah, to really see how everything we've talked about translates into actual gameplay. Let's start with healer matchups. What are some of the most common ones we see, and what are the key things players should keep in mind?
Well, one that always makes for an interesting dynamic is Luna Snow versus Mantis.
Okay.
You know, Luna Snow's fantastic.
Right.
For sustained area of effect healing. She can keep a whole team topped off. During those chaotic team fights.
So she's your go-to if you need to weather a storm of damage.
Exactly. But Mantis, she brings something different to the table. She excels at burst healing and damage amplification.
Okay.
So if you need to save someone who's about to go down or boost a DPS hero's damage output, Mantis is your pick.
So it's not a question of who's the better healer. It's about understanding their strengths and picking the right healer for your team composition and strategy.
That's a crucial point. It's like building a house. You need different tools for different jobs.
Right. The right tool for the job.
Exactly.
Okay.
And speaking of contrasting styles, let's look at Cloak and Dagger versus Invisible Woman.
Ooh, two of the most potent healers in the game. This one's got to be a clash of titans.
It is. Cloak and Dagger has the edge. When it comes to raw healing output, her AoE heals and ultimate ability are incredibly powerful.
I can imagine her being a real pain to deal with if you're on the receiving end of all that healing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But she's also vulnerable to being focused down by the enemy team. She needs protection to really shine.
Which is where Invisible Woman comes in. She's kind of like a bodyguard healer, right?
Exactly. Her shields and high single-target healing make her fantastic at protecting vulnerable allies, like Cloak and Dagger. And don't underestimate her own healing output either. She could hold her own in a healing duel.
Okay, so she's no slouch.
Not at all.
So in this matchup, it seems like a lot depends on how well each team protects their healer. If Cloak and Dagger can stay alive long enough, she can be a real game changer.
Right.
But if Invisible Woman can keep her shielded and safe, she can swing the fight in her team's favor.
It's a fascinating dynamic.
Oh, damn it.
And it highlights something we've touched on before. Team synergy. Understanding the strengths and weaknesses of each healer.
Right.
And how they complement each other is vital.
Yeah, you gotta have that synergy. Okay, so we've talked about some specific healer matchups, but what happens when you're facing a team that's really leaning into the healing meta? What are some counter strategies players can use to take down those seemingly unkillable foes?
One of the most effective tactics, even against a triple healer team, is focus fire.
Okay.
Remember, even the best healers have a limit to how much they can heal per second. If your entire team concentrates on taking down a single target, you can overwhelm their healing output.
It's like that old saying, united we stand, divided we fall. Or in this case, united we melt their health bar, divided we get healed up instantly.
Exactly.
Yeah, you gotta focus that damage.
Right. And of course, there's always the option of targeting the healers themselves.
Yeah.
Take out the support, and the rest of the team crumbles much more easily.
Right. If you can take out the healers, it's like taking up the legs from under the table. But that's easier said than done, right? Healers tend to stay near the back, protected by their tanks.
True. But there are ways to get to them. Dive heroes like Spider-Man or Black Panther are great for flanking and disrupting enemy positioning.
Yeah.
They can quickly close the gap and get those healers out of position.
This will force them out of their comfort zone and make them panic.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And if you have heroes with long-range abilities or ultimates, you can try to snipe them from a distance. Sometimes you got to get creative.
It's like a game of chess. Sometimes you have to sacrifice a pawn to take out the queen.
Great analogy. Another effective counter strategy is using burst damage to outpace the healing.
All right.
If you can hit them with a massive amount of damage quickly, you might be able to take them down before their healers can fully react.
Ah, the classic hit them hard and fast approach.
Exactly. Heroes with high burst damage abilities, like Hawkeye or Black Widow, are particularly valuable in these situations.
Okay.
And if you have heroes with abilities that can bypass shields or ignore healing, now's the time to bring them out.
You got to use all the tools at your disposal.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's all about understanding the enemy team's composition, their strengths, their weaknesses, and then adapting your strategy accordingly.
Adaptability is key in Marvel Rivals, especially when facing a healing-heavy team.
Right, you can't just go in with the same strategy every time.
No, you gotta read the situation and adjust.
And let's not forget about crowd control. Abilities that stun root or silence enemies can be incredibly effective against healers.
Oh, look at her, sure.
You can lock them down and prevent them from healing their teammates or escaping.
Yeah, it's like taking away their tools before they can even use them.
Right, you're basically taking away their superpowers.
Exactly.
All right, I'm starting to feel a lot more confident about facing those triple support teams now.
Good. Remember, knowledge is power. The more you understand about healer matchups, counter strategies, and team synergy, the better equipped you'll be to handle any situation. All right, to really drive this point home, let's run through a couple of gameplay examples. Let's say you're running a double healer comp with Luna Snow and Adam Warlock. You're facing a team with a strong dive comp, including Spider-Man and Black Panther. How do you approach this matchup?
Okay, so you've got your two healers, Luna and Adam. And they're coming up against those aggressive divers as the Luna Snow player. Your priority is keeping your team alive. During that initial dive, use your AoE heal to top everyone off and be ready to mark your tank for extra healing. If they get focused, you're basically creating a healing zone that's hard for them to break through.
So it's like weathering the storm absorbing their initial burst of aggression.
Exactly. Meanwhile, the Adam Warlock player needs to be ready to use his burst heal or revive if anyone goes down.
Yeah.
His mobility is limited, so he needs to stay near the back line and be protected by the tank.
Okay, so positioning is key for both healers, but for different reasons.
Right. Luna needs to be in the thick of it to effectively use her AoE heals, while Adam needs to stay safe to use his clutch burst heals and revives. Okay, that makes sense. And what about the DPS heroes? What's their role in this scenario?
They need to focus on bursting down the enemy divers as they come in. A well-placed stun or root from Luna Snow can create an opening for them to secure a kill. The goal is to turn the enemy's aggression against them.
Okay, so it's a coordinated effort. Healers provide the sustain, tanks protect the backline, and DPS capitalizes on any openings.
Exactly. It's a team effort.
All right. Let's look at another example. This time you're facing a triple support team. Luna Snow Mantis, A&D Invisible Woman. It's the ultimate test of your healing knowledge. How do you even begin to approach this?
Triple support. That's a tough one.
Yeah, it's like they're daring you
to
trying to take them down.
Right.
But based on what we've discussed, it sounds like Focus Fire and target prioritization are absolutely crucial.
You're getting it. You need to pick one healer and coordinate with your team to take them out as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Ideally, you target the healer with the strongest defensive ultimate. If you can eliminate them before they can use it, you significantly reduce their survivability.
So if they have Invisible Woman, try to take her out before she can shield everyone.
Exactly. And burst damage is crucial in this scenario. You want to overwhelm their healing before it can really get going. Heroes like Hawkeye or Black Widow would be great picks here.
And if you have any heroes with abilities that can bypass shields or ignore healing, now's the time to use them.
Absolutely. Against a triple support team. You have to get creative and use every tool at your disposal.
Yeah, don't be afraid to think outside the box.
Right.
And again, communication is key.
Always.
Yeah, make sure everyone on your team is on the same page about who to target and when to attack.
Yeah, you got to be coordinated.
All right, after this deep dive, I feel like I could write a book on healing in Marvel Rivals.
I think you could.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from the fundamental philosophy of healing to the intricacies of specific matchups and counter strategies.
Right, we've really gone deep.
We've learned that healing is more than just keeping your team alive. It's a way of thinking, a strategic approach that can be just as aggressive and impactful as any damage-dealing strategy.
It's about understanding that. In the ever-shifting landscape of Marvel Rivals, adaptability and knowledge are your greatest weapons.
And with that, we come to the end of our deep dive into healing in Marvel Rivals. We hope you've enjoyed the journey and learned something new along the way.
Remember, whether you're a seasoned sport main or just starting to explore the healing role, there's always something new to discover.
So keep experimenting, keep learning, and keep those health bars full. Until next time, heroes.